power line.
I want to teach you guys about electrical safety today a little bit. This is our demonstration through PUD3. The first thing we like to do is teach you guys where our electricity comes from. All of our electricity, or the majority of it, comes from the hydroelectric dams down on the Columbia River from EPA. So we have to get that electricity from the Columbia River over to here. We do that through our transmission lines. EPA has transmission lines that flow at about 115,000 volts of electricity, and we bring that into the county at 115,000. Now that's a little bit too much for your home. Your home only needs about 120 volts to make the light bulbs turn on. So what we have to do is get that 115,000 down to 120 volts. So what we do is we bring it into one of our 11 substations. And each of these substations has a main component called a power transformer. And it does just that, it transforms power. It takes that 115,000 and steps it or transforms it down to a smaller amount of 7,200, which is a little bit more manageable, and that's what we distribute throughout the county. Now that 7,200 is still a little bit too much for your home. So what we do is we transform it again. We have two types. We have aerial mount or pole mount transformers, and we have pad mount transformers. And they take that 7,200 and they step it down or transform it down to 120 for your house. So every customer of ours is connected to a transformer of one kind or the other. Now the pole mounts are pretty safe. They're up in the air. They're 30, 40 feet up. But the pad mounts are right down here on the ground, and these are the ones we like to talk about. These are accessible to the public, and these are the ones we want everybody to pay close attention to. They're not lawn furniture. They're not toys. So we don't want them to sit on them or play on them. But we do want everybody to be aware of them. Things can happen. They can become damaged. A car can hit them. A tree can fall on them. Something happens and this gets dented, twisted, knocked over, or maybe even knocked open. And now we have 7,200 volts that's exposed. The thing we want people to remember is that electricity is always looking to get to ground. That's where it wants to go. We just have to supply a path for it to get there. Okay? Electricity will use any path it can. The human body is actually a pretty good conductor of electricity, so it will use us to get there. So what happens is if you have 7,200 volts inside the transformer and a small child or somebody decides they want to stick their hand inside that transformer, what they can do is they can create that path to ground. The electricity will flow in their arm, through their body, out their foot, and it'll go to ground. And they will get electrocuted in the process. So we teach everybody to please be safe around these. Don't treat them like lawn furniture or toys. Please don't try to cover them up. But they are normally very safe. The other thing we like to talk about is down power lines. Pretty much every year we have windstorms. Windstorms knock trees down. Trees tend to knock down power lines. The other thing that happens, people drive off the road in bad weather conditions, and we end up with power lines down on the ground. Now sometimes it's very obvious that the power line is down and live as it's sitting here arcing. But other times it'll lay on the ground just like this. It'll look very safe and innocent, but it can very well be energized and be very much a hazard. What we want people to do is if they see a down power line off a pole, is we want you to stop, turn around, go back the way you came from, and at the first chance find an adult or call 911 or PUD and report it. We'd like to go out and take a look at it, make it safe. Again, what happens is our little doll here decides that they want to try to move the power line. And once they get close enough to it, that electricity can sense that path to ground through their body. And the electricity will actually jump to them and flow to ground, electrocuting them in the process. The other thing that can happen is you can end up with a power line on a car or under a car, somehow attached to a car. This happens in storm situations. It happens when people drive off the road, hit a power pole, knock it down. At this point, you have a car that now has a live power line. The safest place for you is to stay in the car. If you're in the car, you're protected. The electricity won't flow through the car to get to ground, and that way you don't become part of the circuit. If you were to get out of the car, or somebody else was to try to get into the car, what they can do is create that circuit from the outside of the car to ground, and they will get electrocuted. There's a chance they're going to harm or electrocute everybody inside the car at the same time. So when you have this kind of a situation, you got to wait for the utility, for the public utility district to get there to de-energize the line or remove it. The best thing to do is just stay in your car and wait. The other thing we like to talk about are trees. We have lots of trees here in the Northwest. We have lots of power lines. We talked earlier that electricity likes to go to ground. That's where it wants to go. And it uses us as a conductor because we have quite a bit of water in the body. Trees are also planted in the ground, and They also drink quite a bit of water. The trees are actually a pretty good conductor of electricity. What can happen is that a kid climbs a tree, puts a little weight on a limb or something. There's always that possibility that he could make contact between the tree and the energized line, the energized tree, maybe get knocked out of it or get hurt. The other thing is that trees can grow into power lines. Same thing can happen. So we ask the public if they see trees growing into our power lines, let us know. I'm more than happy to come out and trim them away and make it safe.
How many volts are in the power line that's typically going down a neighborhood in, say, a rural part of the county, like maybe, the Skokomish Valley? How many volts do those lines have in them?
I can't say for the Skokomish Valley. That's actually Public Utility District number 1's territory.
Okay.
But in PUD3's territory, our distribution primary runs at 7,200 volts.
Is that enough to hurt people?
Any voltage is enough to hurt people. So yes.
So your advice is if they see a down power line, to stay away from it or anything that is connected to it, and to immediately contact the PUD about the emergency.
Yes, exactly. My advice is if you see any line coming off of a power pole or off of a pole, treat it as a live power line and contact the right people so they go out there and take a look at it.
Well, thank you.
Welcome.